Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, any one of these guys could win the MVP award this year, and I wouldn't be surprised. But with only a few weeks left in this year's season, I figure it's time that we break down all the stats, all the information we need, and make a decision on who we think should win the MVP award this year. But before we get into any of that, I have a question for you guys. Who do you think deserves to win the MVP award this year? And I know there's a whole lot to go through, so who do you think should win now? And will it change by the end of the video on who you think should win? So let's not waste any more of your time. Let's go ahead and get right into things and start with the first option here. And the order of this is not who I think should win. I'll have my discussion at the end. It's just based on the odds, because although I don't bet, it's a fair share on where things are leaning. So the first person that we're going to be talking about is going to be Nikola Jokic. Now, Nikola Jokic is coming off of back-to-back MVP seasons and is trying to be the first person to three-peat the MVP since Larry Bird in what I believe 1986. It's been an extremely long time, nearly 40 years since we've seen a three-peat of the MVP award. And Nikola Jokic could do just that. But let's go ahead and break down some of Nikola Jokic's stats. As we take a look here, points, 24.9 points, puts him at 17th in the league. 11.9 rebounds, second in the league, and 9.9 assists, fourth in the league. Extremely close to a triple-double, and likely will end up with a triple-double by the end of the year. He has been dominant on all fronts, offensively, scoring, assists, offensive rebounds, and solid on defense. Not exceptionally, but he's been solid nonetheless, and especially for a big man. That's something that we kind of take a look over. You look at these stats, you don't realize what they're actually bringing in. That's been very, very good for him. And along with that, if we take a look at some of his defensive stats, he has 1.2 steals. He has 0.7 blocks for a total of 1.9 steal blocks. I love adding those two together. It's a great way to compare people through different positions. Centers get more blocks primarily, and of course in this instance maybe not so much, and mostly point guards and guards, smaller people, get more steals. So sometimes you look at this number and it's really, really high. You look at steals really, really high. So I combine the two so it's easier to compare through positions. So 1.2 steals, 0.7 blocks. And along with that, he leads the #1 team in the Western Conference and the third best team in the entire league. Stats, standings, he's got all of it. And he is the #1, at least odds, at this current moment. Now, the next guy up that we want to talk about is going to be Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid has landed at second place in MVP race year after year after year. I mean, we're going back to James Harden. When James Harden won the award, by the way, kind of crazy that they're on the same team now, but Joel Embiid landed second place behind James Harden. For most of Giannis's, he landed maybe not second place, but in the top 5. And both of Nikola Jokic's MVP awards the past 2 years, Joel Embiid landed second in many people's book for the MVP race. He is constantly second. And once again, he sits at second in odds, but he puts up a fair share. We take a look at Joel Embiid's stats. Embiid, 33.3 points. Not only is that first in the entire league and extremely good, but this is coming from a center position. And although the center position has definitely changed for the past few years, for a while there the center position meant nothing, but it's definitely picked up a whole lot. I mean, back-to-back MVPs from the center position, and you got Joel Embiid here. But putting up that many points from the center position is kind of shocking, even with how great the center has been as of late. 33.3 points, best in the league. 10.3 rebounds to pair with that, that's 7th, but only 4.3 assists. That puts him at 52nd. A little bit of a drop off at assists, but he does have James Harden, who I do believe leads the entire league in assists, so that's going to take away some of his numbers. Nonetheless, some really, really good numbers. And you take a look at the defensive side of things, 1.1 steals, 1.7 blocks puts him at 6th in the entire league. You combine those two numbers, 2.8 steal blocks. That is the best number, steals, blocks combined, among these three guys who could potentially win this award. And that's a little bit surprising with, Giannis Antetokounmpo being a Defensive Player of the Year just a while back and is one of the best defenders in the league. Yes, he's having a little bit of a down year, but Joel Embiid above him, props to him. Now, Embiid is on the worst of the teams of these 3 MVP race winners, but he's only on the, he's still on the 4th best team in the league. Only one below where Nikola Jokic sits, but he is on the technically worst team out of these 3 guys. But 76ers have been very, very dominant. They could take a jump to the 2nd seed. They're not far behind 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference. And honestly, I wouldn't be too surprised if they were to overtake that Nuggets team as well. So, things aren't all said and done. He's on the 4th best team with some really, really good stats. I think he puts together his own position and deserves to be in this top 3. Now, the last guy we're going to be talking about here is going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo, a fan favorite, a guy that's quickly becoming the face of the NBA and could be for a very long time. He already has 2 MVPs prior to Nikola Jokic getting his back-to-back. He has a championship, and he's putting together some great numbers. 31.1 points, 5th in the entire league, 11.7 rebounds, 3rd in the entire league, and 5.6 assists, 30th in the entire league. His assists, maybe not up to par with Nikola Jokic, but nonetheless, 30th is very, very good. Along with that, we know how great Giannis is defensively. Now, his numbers maybe not have backed that up this year, but he still shows how great he is on defense pretty consistently. 0.8 blocks, 0.8 steals, combined 1.6. He is very, very good defensively. Maybe statistically hasn't shown it this year, but I think that kind of goes with the fact that people aren't going at him as aggressively because they know how good he is. So, Giannis, along with those stats, leads the best team in the entire league in the Milwaukee Bucks. And they're the best by a pretty big margin when you take a look at win percentage. A fair margin, actually. 0.04 lead on anyone else. And that might not seem like a lot, 4% or whatever that barrels down to once you take in that 3rd percentage, which I just take a glance over. 4% might not seem like a lot, but it honestly is. It's a pretty big gap in percentages. I mean, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th best records in the league are pretty much within 1%. And they get a 4% gap. That's something that you gotta really take a look at. So Giannis, as well as these other guys, deserves to be in this race. And all of these guys have done great. You take a look at these numbers, and yeah, Joel Embiid has the best in points. Then you take a look at assists, and you have, of course, Nikola Jokic has the best in assists. And Nikola Jokic also has the best in rebounds, but you have Giannis Antetokounmpo right behind him. And these guys are all in this race equally fighting for it, and you take a look at these things. So who deserves to win? And that is up for you guys to decide, of course, but I want to join the fun as well. So I'm going to give you who I think deserves to win. Now, of course, all of these guys will deserve a shot for many different reasons. Giannis Antetokounmpo leads the best team in the entire league. Nikola Jokic, maybe the most well-rounded player amongst these guys, and leads in 2 major statistical categories. Joel Embiid might be the flashiest and most fun to watch out of these 3 guys, at least this year, and brings in the most points. These guys, across the board, all have their own reasons for deserving to win. Who do I think deserves to win? Well, as much as I love to sit here and give you an underdog, and give you a guy that maybe people don't expect, although still in the top 3, maybe they don't expect. Much I love to do that, as much as I love the underdog, Nikola Jokic is the number 1 guy for a reason, at least in my opinion. Amongst these 3 guys, best rebounds, best assists, is right there in the race for best team in the league. I mean, Giannis, yes, of course, but Nuggets are still 3rd. He is extremely well-rounded. He's likely going to end the year with a triple-double. I'm pretty sure he's going to end with a triple-double. I mean, he's 0.1 away in the assist category, and I know he doesn't really look at stats. I mean, look at this guy. He doesn't really care about stats, and he talks about that and says that a lot. But I think he'll bump it up. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, I think he'll bump that up to a triple-double on the year. And I do think that it's time that we get a 3-peat for the first time in nearly 40 years. And I actually think that the narrative, I know that's a crazy term that kind of pops around when we're talking about MVPs in the NBA, but I do think the narrative is going to lead towards the first 3-peat since 1986, since Larry Bird. I think Nikola Jokic is the guy to do it. We've seen consistently 2-peats, stop, 2, stop, 2. I think now, with the odds leaning towards him, with his stats definitely proving it, being on a really, really good team, I think he's going to win the MVP. But what do you guys think? Who do you think is going to win the MVP? Is it going to be Jokic, Giannis, Joel Embiid? And who's maybe a underdog guy that you think deserves at least some more credit? Probably won't win it, but who do you think deserves more credit to be in the MVP race? Comment all that down below. I'd love to have a conversation with you guys. And if you enjoyed this video, please like. And if you want to see more like it, more NBA, we got the playoffs coming up. We're going to cover a whole lot of that stuff. And once the offseason comes around, we got draft, free agency, all that stuff. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. It truly means the world to me. But as always, I hope it taught something today. Hope it made you smile. Hope it made you laugh. Something really important to me. Affects the most day in a great way, because every single day can be a great day if we all just put in the effort. And as always, you guys all be safe out there.